Retired NYPD Inspector Paul Mauro joins me now. Paul, Happy New Year. Thanks for being here. You know, when we think about, and Alexis did a great job setting it up, New York City is going to change, maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. How do you see it as someone who has worked for so many years for New York here?
There's a couple of things here that I think are inescapable for Mamdani. And he's in a tough spot, but he put himself there. He's going to try to thread the needle between some level of common sense, because the city still has to function, and also to the fact that he is beholden to the hyper-left progressives that essentially put him in. And they're all going to expect as much free stuff as possible. We just don't have the money for it. So what's he going to do? He's going to have to thread that needle. There's going to be a lot of drama. But in terms of the safety of this city, there are a couple of things that are inescapable here. One of them is the fact that Rikers Island, which is the New York City jail, is going to close in his tenure, early in his tenure, in fact, about 2027, probably early 2027. They're going to go down 70% in bed count. 70%. So right now, there's a lot of hullabaloo in this town about we don't lock up the recidivists. I see the same people committing the crimes. 330 people commit a third of all the shoplifting. Same people are on the subways harassing women, etc. We're about to go down 70% in the bed count. So inescapably, he's going to have to significantly lighten up on enforcement. So that alone tells me he's in for a tough ride, and he's made a lot of promises.
You know, you got me thinking there, Paul, because literally we heard all of the defund police rhetoric from him, and then there, after he became the mayor-elect, he started to try and walk some of that back.
Right.
However, we also just saw the national report that year-to-year murder rate has dropped in an unprecedented way across the country. Part of that is because ICE and the Trump administration went in and arrested illegal violent criminal aliens. A shocking novel idea. If you go arrest violent illegal criminal aliens, the crime rate goes down. But he doesn't seem to have indicated that he's looking to cooperate with ICE anytime soon.
Well, you know, if the federal government decides to press it here in New York, he's not going to have much of a choice. At the end of the day, the federal government obtains here, and if you impede that, you're liable for arrest yourself. That's just black-letter law. Let's recognize that one of the reasons that violent crime is down is not only the surge of other police agencies, federal agencies, into these cities to make arrests. The FBI alone is way up in crime arrests, violent crime arrests. What they can't really do at the federal level is affect the quality of life stuff that has just really taken over New York and so many of our blue towns. As I always say, we don't lock up our criminals in New York, we lock up our toothpaste. And that's why the misdemeanor stuff, a lot of it's not even taken anymore, those complaints. The people don't bother to call. And so while we are doing well, I would argue, and NYPD has done a great job, I think Jessica Tisch finally hit the accelerator, got these guys, allowed these guys to do what they want to do and can do. The difference is that there's nobody enforcing the low-level stuff, which is much more common. That's what you feel every day in town.
Well, we'll see where it goes. It's a frightening prospect if he doesn't increase enforcement. I got to get your take on this. For any of us like myself that's an NFL football fan, the Patriots have a real problem. First, it was Stephon Diggs, a star wide receiver, accused of disturbing behavior. Now, Christian Barmore, a defensive lineman, is being charged with assault. Now, while they both have charges against them, the NFL just put out a statement moments ago about that, saying there is no change to the status of Diggs or Barmore. Both are eligible to play at this time. Pursuant to the personal conduct policy, consideration for placement on the commissioner's exempt list may be considered following formal charges in the form of an indictment by a grand jury, the filing of charges by a prosecutor, or an arraignment in a criminal court. What do you make of this?
Well, we're a long way from believe all women, huh? I mean, because this signals a change to me that they're standing behind these guys. Now, I'm not making light of the charges, but the Diggs thing is one that we know a little bit more about. One of the things we know is it took 3 weeks and a number of contacts with police, including those initiated by the police, for her to finally say, okay, I'll file charges against this guy. Now, I don't know what happened behind the scenes. What we should recognize, though, is the law in Massachusetts is different from New York. You don't need an injury to get felony strangulation. It's a serious charge. But what you hate in circumstances like this, and every cop's had it, is that he said, she said, and there's no other evidence. Then it's one word against the other. If that's the case, then at the end of the day, the system has to play out. But all I'll say, with the little information that we have, is that in our system, the adversarial system, it's the evidence that decides, not the gender. And so I think the NFL has looked at it and said, you know, we don't see anything that's that compelling here.
Right.
And I think they said, you know what, we can play it safe by putting out that statement, because there mustn't be anything that's just slam dunk photos of an injury, an hysterical 911 call. So there must be some wiggle room here. Let's see how it goes.
We'll see where it goes. We'll continue to follow it. Paul Mauro, thanks for being here. Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year, buddy.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.